Chicagoland, hey, let's start the conversation. Upset, complaint, opinion, call me. Oh, no, that didn't just happen. Garrard McClendon Live starts now. Yes, Garrard McClendon Live starts now. It's a nice time to get out of Chicago. Isn't it, Mayor Daley and Oprah Winfrey and everyone else who chooses to ignore a child who was beaten to death? Take your butts to Copenhagen and enjoy the fine cuisine. Wouldn't you like a vacation to Copenhagen just after 4 children in your city have been murdered? Want to get away? I watched the press conference and prayer vigil today. It was nice, but when are we going to realize that stealing away to Jesus is just a cliche, and prayer in a bad neighborhood is worse than no prayer in a good neighborhood? Derrion Albert was beaten to death and 3 people have been charged. Step it up and start snitching on anyone else involved. The videotape is going to snitch on everybody, so you better come clean. Give me a call tonight, 877-358-CLTV. Chicago 2016 goes to Copenhagen and forgets about Roseland. Joining us now by telephone, true freedom fighter giving his time and support to this cause and the Derrion Albert family from St. Sabina's Church, Father Michael Pfleger. How are you this evening, sir?
All right, Gerard. How about yourself?
You know, Father Pfleger, your thoughts on today's vigil and the press conference for Derrion Albert's memory?
Well, sir, what I said the other day and what I think is that we have failed our children. I mean, everybody's failed. The police have failed. Educators have failed. Parents have failed. The churches failed. Pastors have failed. Communities failed. And I'm with you. You know, it's time out for just prayer. There's got to be some action beyond the prayer.
Yeah.
And everybody has failed at this. You know, my point, like I mentioned today, is we don't do a good job blending these schools together when they come together. We fail at that. We got to fix that. And if this has been brewing for the last 2 weeks, well, where were the police and the police officers in that school, and where were all the people saying, let's do something about this before it ends up in a brawl out in front?
Yeah.
I mean, why do we wait until a child is killed to talk about this kind of craziness? To me, we have just had complete failure in this.
Yeah, one of my callers last week said it's easy to be reactionary,
right,
but it's a lot more difficult to be proactive. But when you're proactive and nothing is going on, sometimes it looks like you're barking up the wrong tree. I know earlier you said, and quote, we have to get the hearts of our children. Father Pfleger, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think that, you know, our children are walking around here, obviously, and some of them, I don't even understand the kind of person that can beat another child to death. And, you know, what is in that mind? What is in that heart? And we as adults in the community, stop being afraid of our children. Talk to them. Get to their heart. Get in their mind. What are you doing? Where are you going? These kids didn't just develop anger all of a sudden on Friday afternoon. Where are we watching these kids, seeing these kids in our blocks, in our neighborhoods, in our houses, and not talking to them or getting help for them beforehand till they end up, and I don't want to see somebody crying about when my child was accused of first-degree murder. Yeah. Well, did you see this anger in your child over the last weeks?
Yeah, and the answer is probably yes, Father Pfleger. It's Eugene Riley, Sylvana Shannon, and Eric Carson. They've been charged with first-degree murder. Police are looking for 3 more suspects. You know, Father, life is a paradox. We're confronted with this phrase, quote, stop snitching, end quote. But a child was beaten to death in broad daylight. Can we rename this so people will actually give police some information?
Well, you know what I think, Gerard? I think it is time out for waiting for police to solve crimes.
Okay.
Community. Kids, community ought to be running to the police with the names of these people. These are not, I'm so tired of hearing, well, just another troubled child. No, this is a murderer. You beat a child to death. Those boys on the porch and Corey and McLaren, these were killed by gun. You are murderers. And we should not be waiting for find out the information of police having to go and investigate and search. We should be turning out in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our schools, give the information. We need to be the ones solving the crimes by saying you cannot shoot and kill our children and think you can come back in this neighborhood and sit in somebody's house and sleep at night, and we're not going to turn you in. That's unacceptable. The hell with this snitching thing. This is time to say you are not going to kill our children and stay in this community.
You know what? And Father Pfleger, you hit on a hot button. People know who the troublemakers are. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, Father Pfleger, I go back to my neighborhood back in the day when I was a youngster. You knew who was stealing cars.
Absolutely.
You knew who were the stick-up kids. You knew who these people were. You knew what families they came from. You knew where they learned how to do this criminal activity. And now you're not going to say anything unless it's perpetrated upon you? Unbelievable.
Yeah, Gerard, I had a father that called me one time saying he knew somebody who had shot this kid, but he said, I just don't want to get involved in it, and I don't want to put myself at risk. I said, sir, do you have any children? He said, yes, I have a daughter. I said, if somebody shot your daughter, would you want somebody to come forward and tell them? He said, yeah, absolutely. I said, well, you know what? That's somebody's daughter.
Yeah. And
it's your daughter because it's a child in your community. And I am so tired of people. Either fear will paralyze you or fear is going to motivate you. It's only getting worse. It's not getting better. We lost 4 teens last week.
Yeah.
When are we going to say, well, for enough of this fear, enough of this no snitching, enough of this turning our backs, turn in these murderers that are killing our children?
Yeah. Father Pfleger, I need some final thoughts. Is this going to take military action? Do we need the National Guard? I mean, what can police do? What can we do?
You know, I've never been one for calling in the outside, but if we don't get it together soon, and if we don't decide to stand up as a community, I just think that the community has failed across the board. We have become absentee landlords to our children and to our neighborhoods, and now we're seeing the result of it. So either the communities decide we're going to turn up and we're going to draw the line and say enough. Take this tragedy of a boy beaten to death and make this set a fire in us to say enough. If it doesn't, you know, well then maybe we need the National Guard. I hate to think that.
Yeah, I hate to think that too.
But I don't know what's going to take to wake communities up. How many children's blood are going to be on our doorsteps?
That's right. Father Michael Pfleger from St. Sabina's Church, we appreciate you being on Garrard McClendon. We appreciate you supporting the Derrion Albert family as well. Hey, you have a good evening.
Thanks, you too, Gerard.
All right. Where would you rather be, Copenhagen or Roseland? The Olympic Committee is boarding a flight far away from 111th Street. Start snitching and put these criminals in prison. Whether you tell or not, your life is in danger. Give me a call, 877-358-CLTV. Garrard McClendon Live, back in 2 minutes.
You know, it's a shame that boys are going to become extinct in our community. And there's not going to be any young men for mothers who have daughters. There's not going to be any young men for our daughters to marry because they're killing them. We have to stop this. Young people, stop killing each other for whatever reason. You got adults that want to participate and find out what's wrong. Tell us what's wrong. We'll be happy to listen to you. Let's stop the violence. Let's stop the killing. Let's put an end to it today.
Disappearing acts the extinction of the black male, going to prison, being killed. Derrion Albert is no longer with us because a few cowards descended upon his helpless soul with 2x4s. The videotape is out and you can run, but you can't hide. Start telling people, start snitching so we can get everyone who killed Derrion Albert where they belong. 877-358-CLTV, that's the number. Joining us now by telephone is the 34th Ward Alderman, Carrie Austin. How are you this evening, Alderman?
Doing good, considering.
Yes, we saw you at the vigil and press conference today. Your remarks for your community had a strong spiritual overtone. Why?
Well, I just don't think that violence will beget violence. And I know that many have been talking about retaliation. So it would just be perpetual. They will continue to kill and alienate our own race of people.
Yes, yes.
So if I can't reach for another source of strength, which is God, then I can't perpetuate the violence of what has happened. How do I reach you? I need to be able to reach you in another manner.
Yes.
I need to be able to reach you through your heart. So
Yes.
that's where I thought that I should reach them, telling them to stop the violence, telling them to stop this. We will listen. We will talk to you. All of that. Many of the ministers and activists that were there were saying the same thing.
Yes, yes. Alderman Austin, Derrion's family wants answers. What are you doing to ensure the capture of possible, additional suspects? 3 men have been charged: Eugene Riley, Sylvanus Shannon, and Eric Carson. Police say that there may be 3 more, according to the videotape and according to witness testimony. What are you doing, Alderman, to try to get to the grips of this?
Well, I don't have any investigative power. All I can do is stay on the police department. I can stay on them to make sure that they do not drop the ball. And I have all the confidence in Deputy Chief Eddie Welch, because that's our detective. That's our chief of detectives. So I can't say that drop the ball, but any mother, any father, any child that knows any information, don't be a coward.
Yes.
Don't be a coward. Give that information up, because this young man was not at any fault.
Yeah.
He died unnecessarily.
You know what, Alderman Austin? I remember, and I've discussed this with my parents as well, when Roseland was a beautiful community. Grass was cut, people were living right, crime was low. A war zone. Is this a war zone now, or just a few bad apples spoiling everything for your ward?
I believe it's a few bad apples. Because my community is one that have all held together until this time. Because I believe that it's at everybody's fault also, I think at CPS, at the police department, because I believe that with the boundaries of the school being so widespread and all of the other schools are at a close down, then that means that every avenue of child can come to Finger High School.
Yeah.
That means kids that are as far as 60s and 70s come way out here to the hundreds. Kids over at Arcare, you're going to bypass Carver to come to Finger. Those things got to change.
Yeah.
That boundary line must change.
This is interesting because, see, this is something that can be changed through school policy.
Absolutely.
And so many times at School City, they may be, glossing over the fact that they're going to spend $30 million to create mentors for the 1,200 or so problem children within the school district, but some redistricting may change things for the good. I know prayer is always used to try to understand and eliminate problems. Besides prayer, though, do we need better parenting, the National Guard, more video cameras?
Well, I don't think we need the National Guard at this juncture, because I believe in the National Guard being just that, no tolerance. No tolerance whatsoever. And I think that at the juncture of where our kids are at now, we have not reached the core of their anger.
Yeah.
So we some of our kids are homeless. Some of our kids are being led by adults to do the wrong thing.
Right.
So we need to reach to the core of why are they this angry? Why are they able to lead these kids down the wrong direction? If it's parenting, if you miss the boat on the parenting, then we need to provide things that will help that particular parent with some better parenting skills.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do nothing with little Johnny. Well, it's our responsibility to provide things to help her with little Johnny.
Yeah. Alderman Austin, this is something that puzzles me as I get your final thoughts here. It seems as if no prayer in a good neighborhood is better than lots of prayer in a bad neighborhood. What do you think about that? Give me some closing thoughts.
Yes, I believe in that. I believe in prayer in any neighborhood. Lots of prayer for the few bad apples that we have. And even with those bad apples, I don't think that they are completely lost.
Yes.
I think that they've all been misdirected. And it's up to us to try to find out how to redirect them.
Yes.
How do we reach them? How do we get to the core of them?
I like that, redirect. I appreciate your time, Alderman Carrie Austin from the 34th Ward. God bless you, and I hope things continue to get better in your ward.
They have to get better.
Yes.
Because this is already worse.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for being on Garrard McClendon Live. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Copenhagen or Roseland, you choose Chicago. Start snitching or the next beatdown might be you. 3 charged with the murder of Derrion Albert. Are there more to blame? Call me 877-358-CLTV. Garrard McClendon Live. Back in 2 minutes.
guns come into our community, drugs come into our community, because people in high places allow this to come into our community. And it's time for it to be exposed. It's time for it to end. We cannot allow our young people to continue to be killed and their lives snuffed out. And we sit back complacently and elect the same people year after year who are not doing anything about this problem. I'm talking about the police department. I'm talking about all of those who are doing nothing. It's time to do something about this problem.
Woo! Electing the same people that do nothing for the community. Give me a call, 877-358-CLTV. I'm trying to see what's worse, living in fear or snitching in fear. Just tell the police what you know. Welcome back to Garrard McClendon Live. Can another prayer vigil take away the pain? Should Mayor Daley cancel his trip and stick around town to console Derrion Albert's family? Priorities in Chicago, a mixed message, and a spider spinning of tangled web 2016. I'm taking calls. 877-358-CLTV. You know what? Let me go to Facebook right now. I'm looking at Alicia. She says, good. The rest of those misguided and miseducated souls need to be held accountable. Leslie says, we should start snitching immediately. It should be called standing up. Alan Roger Curry says, this is incredibly disturbing. This is unbelievable. Let me go to phones. I'm going to Marion first. Marion, thanks for calling Garrard McClendon Live. What is your comment?
My comment is, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes, it does.
And it also takes a village to correct a child. We need to stop this madness. We need to stop this not my child syndrome. When you see a child on the street that's doing crime, stand up and act like it's your child.
Yeah.
And take responsibility, because not the heartache's going to knock on your door one day.
Hey, Marion, thanks for the call. I appreciate you. White tees, white T-shirts. What's up with that? People loitering on the corner, hanging out. You know they selling rocks, but nobody wants to say anything. People carrying around 2x4s for the heck of it. You know they're not going to build a house. Come on now, 877-358-CLTV. I'm going to Cynthia next. Cynthia, talk to me on Garrard McClendon Live. Hi, Cynthia. Cynthia, talk to me.
Hi, Gerard.
How are you?
It's not snitching. It's standing up for the community. And in the community that I grew up in, that's what people did. They ostracized those that were doing crime so that they could not continue. Secondly, a quick remedy for to end a lot of this bad behavior is students or young people that are constantly in trouble hold the parents and or the guardians accountable.
Ooh.
If they started locking them up where they're going to lose time on their job, I guarantee you would see a change, because this is outrageous, and it's time out. Prayer helps, but action in terms of prayer, it needs to be in place.
Yes.
And it's too many that are not standing up and talking out, and the people in the community know the ones that are doing the crime.
Wow.
They know these people, and they're not saying anything.
Wow.
And so my point is, in the schools, the teachers, the administrators, they can only do so much. But if you don't have people that the parents are not coming out, some are coming out. I'm not saying they're not, but not at the numbers that they need to be.
Yes.
And if you hold the parents and these guardians accountable when these kids are constantly, repeatedly in trouble, and start putting them in jail.
There we go.
If they get a day or two off of their job, they can't afford to lose their job, I guarantee you would see some change.
There we go. Hey, Cynthia, thanks for the call. We appreciate you. I'm going to stay on the phones. However, Eugene Riley, Sylvanus Shannon, Eric Carson have all been charged. There's been a fourth person charged in the first-degree murder of Derrion Albert. Looks like people are calling in, and looks like people are standing up, not snitching, standing up for righteousness and justice. I'm going to Rhonda next. Rhonda, you have called Garrard McClendon Live. What's your comment, Rhonda?
How you doing, Gerard?
Pretty good.
I'm from the South Side. I do agree with Cynthia with the parent thing, being locked up and everything. But what is the Chicago police going to do if you do snitch, and what type of protection would they give the family or the victim or the person that actually sink the crime? Because retaliation is worse than kids getting hurt.
Yeah. But
So
let me ask you this though, Rhonda. I mean, should people just live in fear for the rest of their lives?
No.
You know, come on. If you're not willing to die for something, is your life worth anything?
Yes, it is.
Well,
It's more valuable you know, for kids to live nowadays, then they just walking to school being beat up or getting stuck up. But that stop snitching, that comes from fear.
Yeah, it does.
And if the Chicago police won't put those people in protected custody so they can speak up, that's why they're not talking.
Wow.
Because they feel afraid of the people that actually got hurt and what they're going to do to them if they tell on them.
Wow, Rhonda, thanks for the call. I appreciate you. A witness protection program in the hood. Let me go to Facebook. Audra says, every time I look at this story, I get angry. Nicole says, it's a sad case all around for the victim's family as well as for the offenders' families. Hit me on Facebook, MySpace. Hit me on Twitter. Voice your opinion on the Garrard McClendon Live B line. You can always call that number, 773-883-3450. Daily disses Roseland. Caviar and lobster tails on a flight from far away from Chicago. Garrard McClendon Live, back 2 minutes.
This should never go on. Anything that has to do with mob violence, people should be able to learn how to think for themselves. Somebody in that crowd, the kids, should have even called 911. The problem is twofold. Chicago is trying to vie for the Olympics. They're going to have all this Olympic stuff going on, but who's going to want to come and get mugged? Who's going to want to come and get beaten up? You know, crime is horrible. Mob violence, it should never be allowed. And parents should be watching their kids more closely and taking a better hand in raising them.
It's the Garrard McClendon V-Line. Give me a call, 773-883-3450. Should the mayor leave? Will prayer change things? Will the Wild Hunnets ever lose its nickname? Derrion Albert, rest in peace. You know, what good are policymakers, media personalities, and the 2016 committee when they board a flight to Copenhagen with plenty of vintage wine on board? We need the National Guard patrolling schools and bus stops and streets in the worst neighborhood. Bring the Army and Marines to Roseland. If they were here, Derrion Albert might still be alive. CLTV.com/GML gets me, 773-883-3450. That's Garrard McClendon Live for tonight. In tough times, stay positive, keep your head up, and always be encouraged.